In the middle of the ocean, where silence defies explanation, lies a legend that has haunted sailors for centuries: the ghost ship. Today, we'll dive into one of the greatest mysteries of the sea, a ship that set sail from port, but never returned. It all began as an ordinary voyage. The crew set sail for a long journey, their spirits high as they disappeared over the horizon. But after that day, no one ever saw the ship again. Whispers among sailors told of a curse, a vessel doomed never to return. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Yet no wreckage, no trace was ever found. The mystery grew into legend in the harbor town, a story that was retold again and again, growing darker with each passing day. Days later, another merchant ship spotted a massive shadow emerging from the fog. Its sails were torn to shreds, its masts swaying in the mist. But the strangest thing of all, there wasn't a single soul on board. Through their spyglasses, the terrified crew saw an empty, silent deck. No captain at the helm, no sailors on the ropes, only the howling wind rattling the tattered sails as the ship drifted alone, like a ghost. The approaching sailors fired signal flares and sounded their horns. But there was no response. Some whispered that a cursed spirit had claimed the vessel. Others believed it was a plague or a sea monster's doing. That night, before the fog could lift, they tried to approach the ghostly ship, but the waves forced them back, and by morning, it was gone, vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but a chilling story to haunt the seas forever. The crew had vanished without a trace. On the tables, meals remained half-eaten, as if everyone had simply disappeared in an instant. A spoon lay fallen on a plate. The steam from bowls of soup had long since faded. The wax from burned-out candles had dripped onto the deck, painting a scene frozen in time. Maps fluttered in the wind. A journal with smudged ink and hastily scribbled notes lay open, its final line trembling with a desperate plea for help. No cries had been heard, no signs of struggle had been found. The sea had been silent that night, as though even the waves dared not disturb the mystery. On the tables stood half-filled wine glasses, a pipe still faintly smoking, and a hat cast aside on the deck, as if its owner had vanished mid-step. The wind howled through the tattered sails, and the creaking of the wooden hull echoed like footsteps, waiting for someone who would never return. Every corner whispered a story left untold, a sailor's knife dropped in haste, a fork still lodged in the table, and playing cards scattered across the deck, abandoned mid-game. The entire scene stood as a silent witness to a catastrophe that had somehow stopped time, a mystery that would linger forever. Sailors exploring the ship heard nothing but the echo of their own footsteps in the empty cabins. The creaking of the wooden floorboards grew louder with each step, deepening the oppressive silence. The dim beams of their flashlights cast dancing shadows along the narrow corridors, forming strange shapes on the old wooden walls before they flickered and vanished. A sense of unease spread among the sailors, a tension no one dared to voice aloud. Finally, one of them could no longer contain himself. Swearing under his breath, he said, his voice trembling, "Someone was breathing behind me." The fear in his tone froze the others in place. They all turned their heads toward the darkness, but there was nothing, only the flickering flame of a distant candle and the moaning wind seeping through a cracked window. Still, the terrified sailor wiped the sweat from his brow and insisted, "I felt it. A warm breath on the back of my neck, I swear. His companions exchanged uneasy glances and whispered among themselves. Some muttered that it was just exhaustion playing tricks on his mind, while others spoke of restless spirits haunting the ship, whispering through the aged timbers. They quickened their pace, yet their ears remained on edge, straining for any sound, as though that mysterious breath might return at any moment. The cabin doors swayed gently, letting out faint, eerie groans as the draft pushed through. Suddenly, the lead sailor froze. Slowly, he turned his flashlight toward the darkness behind them. For a brief instant, a shadow flickered in the beam, then vanished. Their hearts pounded, breaths caught in their throats. Were they truly alone, or did the depths of this ancient ship conceal a terrible secret? According to legend, the ship had ventured into forbidden waters, sailing a dark and perilous route. The crew pressed onward beyond storms and fog into a region so mysterious it wasn't even marked on any map. The captain believed that the crimson stains on his old weather chart were a sign, perhaps a warning, or perhaps a cryptic summons. But that choice sealed their fate, setting the ship on a journey from which there would be no return. That night, the sea fell into an unnatural silence. The waves ceased their rolling, and the wind died to nothing. When the crew spotted shadowy shapes rising on the horizon, a chilling fear gripped their hearts. From beneath the waters emerged the dreaded rulers of the seas, the monstrous beings whispered of in ancient legends. Their towering, glowing-eyed silhouettes encircled the ship, their massive forms wrapping around the wooden hull. The crew's screams were swallowed by the darkness. Some cursed the captain with their final breaths, while others tried desperately to pray. But no plea, no curse could stop those mysterious forces. The ship's sails were torn to shreds, its masts splintered, and the waves turned a horrifying shade of crimson as the vessel was dragged beneath the surface and vanished. From that day on, neither the ship nor a single trace of its crew was ever seen again. Among sailors, it is still whispered that the forbidden route remains out there, hidden deep within the mists, a trap guarded by the wrathful spirits of the Sea Lords. No one dares to sail near those waters, for the legend warns of one undeniable truth: none who enter ever return. Years passed, and different sailors claimed to have seen the same ship over and over again. That dark silhouette would appear suddenly in the most desolate corners of the ocean, sometimes amidst raging storms, other times on a calm, moonlit sea. At night, it would rise on the horizon like a haunting shadow, its sails torn, its masts broken, as though it had drifted out of time itself, carrying with it a curse from the past. Whenever crews encountered this sight, they would freeze in terror, their hearts seized by an indescribable fear. A strange mist would gather around the ship, and even the waves would fall silent, as if nature itself could feel the weight of that cursed moment. Through their spyglasses, sailors reported seeing vague, shifting figures moving across the deck. Yet no voices could be heard, no signals given. Then, in the blink of an eye, the ghostly vessel would vanish behind a cloud of fog, leaving nothing behind but the whisper of waves, and the chilling memory burned into their minds. Some believed it to be a warning. Others whispered that it was the lost crew, their restless spirits seeking vengeance. As the legend spread, it grew with each telling, carrying the tale of the cursed legacy of a captain and his ship, a vessel doomed to wander the seas forever, never to return. Even in modern times, similar incidents have been reported. These cases, documented by maritime authorities and ship captains, remain shrouded in mystery, even in our age of advanced technology. On radar screens, a ship's silhouette would suddenly appear, triggering alarms among operators. The object was clearly visible on the monitors, yet it sent no radio signals, carried no identification, and simply hovered there in silence. Crew members would grab their binoculars and scan the horizon, but in the mist or the dark waters, there would be nothing, no ship, no lights, no sign of life. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the mysterious vessel would vanish from the radar without a trace. No wreckage, no signal residue, no explanation. Some dismissed these events as electronic malfunctions, a reflection perhaps, or a satellite error. But what about the strange whispers? According to crew testimonies, eerie, indecipherable voices would rise through the radio frequencies at the exact moment of the sighting. They sounded like old sea shanties, mingling with the howling of the wind, a haunting, chilling murmur that sent shivers down the spine. Was it merely a hallucination, a shared illusion? Or was there truly a cursed ship still roaming the seas? Legends feed on these encounters, stretching from the Bermuda Triangle to the deepest corners of the Pacific. Researchers scan satellite images, deploy underwater scanners, and analyze every clue, but they always return empty-handed. Perhaps the ship is nothing more than a reflection of the crimson stains on the captain's ancient map, a specter born of forbidden roots and the wrath of the Sea Lords. And who knows? Maybe during the next storm, your ship's radar will reveal that same ghostly silhouette, and the question will remain the same. Is it real, or just the sailor's darkest nightmare? Some say it was nothing more than an illusion, while others claim it was the work of pirates. But one thing is certain. This ship has appeared in records throughout history under many different names. According to the legends whispered among sailors, every time this ship appears, storms erupt out of nowhere, dense fog rolls in suddenly, and the compass needle spins wildly out of control. Some believe the ship is cursed, its crew having vanished centuries ago, doomed to wander the seas forever, seeking vengeance. Even today, sailors traveling across the oceans speak of seeing shadows in the mist. Some insist these are the ghostly silhouettes of ancient sailing ships, while others try to bury these memories deep in fear, refusing to speak of them. In old maritime records, the vessel is known by many mysterious titles: the Lost Queen, the Shadow Sail, or the Silent Hunter. Each time it leaves behind a trace, appearing at a different port, in a different era, only to vanish again into legend. But what about you? If one day, in the middle of the sea, you found yourself surrounded by an unnatural silence, a silence no explanation could justify, and this ghostly ship appeared before you, what would you do? Imagine the wind's howl suddenly ceasing, the waves growing eerily still, and the world around you seeming to freeze, as if trapped in a memory outside of time. Mist drifts toward you from the ship's decaying wooden deck, curling like pale fingers in the dark. Would you gather your courage and draw closer, answering the strange pull in your chest? Or would you fight that chilling attraction and turn your vessel away, desperate to escape? Perhaps you would search for a sign, a light, a sound, or a trace of the long-lost crew. Or maybe You would choose another path entirely, vowing to return one day to solve the mystery once and for all. As the sea waits in silence for your decision, this encounter could become the greatest secret of your life, a mystery etched forever in the depths of the ocean and in your soul.